that the president, I have not spoken to the president about this, and what I'm saying is he was asked about a pardon. He was asked about the trial specifically, and he answered it very clearly, very forthright. As we know, the sentencing hasn't even been scheduled yet. I don't have anything beyond what the president said. He's been very clear about this.
So she was asked, Karine Jean-Pierre, just then, and this is the Biden's on his way. Actually, I think he's already arrived in Italy for the G7 summit. It's in Puglia, and that kicks off today. They had a dinner a dinner. They're 8 hours ahead, so they had a dinner. And I think he's skipping that because he's probably tired. But she was asked about his whether or not he's going to pardon or commute the sentence of his son, that conviction in Wilmington yesterday. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch with you, top of this second hour. You can listen coast to coast, and you can also follow along with the simulcast of the nationally syndicated radio program on Channel 347 DirecTV. Find us on Rumble, where there's all kinds of discussion and more. So she was asked about, because everyone talks about the pardon. He could also commute the sentence as well. But as I said in my piece last night that I sent out on Substack, Chapter and Verse, which you should subscribe to because there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of there all throughout the week, is that I don't think, and they left it open for the possibility of Hunter to appeal it. I don't think he's going to do anything right now except look like a sad and contrite son until after November. He's not going to do anything to jeopardize his dad's reelection. He's not going to do a thing until after November. And Joe could, when he feels that he is beyond political penalty, I don't see how he doesn't, at the very least, commute his sentence. But I think he'll pardon him. I feel like that's an absolute thing. And don't think that, well, no, I'm not going to pardon my sentence. I'm not going to pardon his sentence. He's doing that right now because he's up for election in November. This is the same president that's lied to you 6 ways to Sunday about a million different issues. These are the people that had 51 intelligence officials sign on to a lie claiming that the laptop that was absolutely Hunter Biden's was not Hunter Biden's, and it was some Russian misinformation psyop. And then it was entered into evidence at his trial, and it was already confirmed by the FBI. They'll lie to you about anything. So why wouldn't he lie to you about the most basic thing, pardoning his son? Now, I put out a piece yesterday saying don't celebrate this. And here's why. This case, the reason why there was a conviction is because it was the easiest case against Hunter Biden. It is the only one that does not implicate the whole entire family. Now, you have the tax fraud case that's in California. Those hearings are that trial kicks off in September. That has to do with the $1.4 million in taxes that he didn't pay. And the reality that he was buying a lot of hookers and blow at the time when he could have been paying his taxes is not going to look good to a jury. Forbes, though, already warned a year ago in a piece that I linked up on my Substack that to not expect jail time over that. The IRS investigation plays into the House's impeachment inquiry. If you remember yesterday, the House committee had they made a criminal referral over perjury for both Jim Biden and Joe Biden. So that's all part of that impeachment inquiry, which is still building. Now, the impeachment inquiry, you might think that it's taking a long time and they're dragging their feet, and why don't they move like the Democrats did? Well, the Democrats didn't hold an inquiry. That's what you have to do, really, before you have an impeachment. Imagine this. You're going to take someone to trial for murder, except you don't investigate whether or not a murder's been taken place or there's even any evidence that he was involved in it. But you go ahead and you charge him with it anyway. That's exactly what Democrats did. There wasn't even a criminal charge associated with Trump's impeachment. They didn't have an impeachment inquiry. They didn't have a hearing. They didn't bring him to testify behind closed doors and then in public. They didn't do any of that stuff. They just went right into the impeachment. The proper way to do it is to actually investigate to see if there are charges there. And there's a lot of smoke. So they've referred two criminal referrals based on perjury because what Jim and Joe apparently said contradicts the evidence that they have. And then keep in part that they've also made a criminal referral about Merrick Garland because Merrick Garland absolutely refuses to release the audio of Joe Biden's closed-door interview. They only released a redacted transcript. And they said, oh, well, what we did is we eliminated some redundant words like the and if, like if someone's talking and they're going and, like they're really excited or something. But the reason that that doesn't seem right is because, A, we've seen Joe talk, but B, I mean, the IG noted that the reason they weren't even pursuing charges against Biden in the case of the classified documents that he had in his garage and in his office at Penn State was that, or University of Pennsylvania, was that he's old and he's basically like he's an old man and he's not all there. But he's okay to run the country. He's just not mentally capable of standing trial. That's literally what the IG said. So, yeah, I think we kind of need the audio. But Democrats and the Biden campaign are terrified because the audio, I would imagine, is exponentially worse than the transcript. And so they're supposed to, that was subpoenaed, and they just ignored it. You can't just ignore a House subpoena. There's charges that come up with that. That's, there's people right now that are on the Trump side that ignored a subpoena. When it comes from the House, there's certain protocol that you have to do if you want to try to avoid or protect yourself against it. Garland's just like, tick off. I'm the AG. So now they're dealing with that too to try to get that audio because they're not being transparent with the people and with the House. So the tax case in California with Hunter Biden all goes into this. It is all a part of it because what is the reason that they're doing this impeachment inquiry in the first place? To see how much. It's not a question of if they financially benefited. It is a question of how much and was our national security put at risk? Which I think that you can beg the question and say it absolutely, our national security was put at risk because of their financial dealings and merging out the White House and the vice presidency. So that's what this tax fraud case in California, which is a lot worse than the gun charge. And it is the only one that gets into the entire family. And so that's why I think that they allowed this. And remember, they slow walk this. Don't think that this is part of justice because it's not. They allowed Hunter Biden's other criminal behavior because he had other charges against him that expired. They ran up against the statute of limitations. And the government, run by his father, dragged its feet in bringing any charges, so they expired. Now, think about that for a moment. The government dragged its feet because there were other tax charges and other financial dealings that Hunter Biden that technically could have been felonies or at least or class 8 or misdemeanors. They allowed the ability to charge for those crimes to expire under statute of limitations. And then in New York, they resurrected a misdemeanor, tried to tie it to another misdemeanor so that they could elevate it to federal court and get around the statute of limitations for Trump. So don't call this justice because it's not. Furthermore, the behavior and actions of 51 intelligence officials signing a letter claiming that the laptop was Russian disinformation when it was confirmed by the FBI and then later entered in as evidence in this case in Delaware and will be a part of evidence for the case in California and is part of evidence for the House impeachment inquiry. You have 51 intelligence officials, including former heads of the CIA and NSA, that signed on to this, lying to the American public. That's not justice. That isn't justice. None of this is justice. And you have Dexter Taylor, a man who did nothing wrong, sitting in jail because they tried to retcon a legal activity unconstitutionally with his firearm hobbyism and jail him for it. He's waiting for his justice. Now, the other thing that I brought up with this conviction is I don't want people being baited into, and I'm going to say it again briefly, into the separate issues of the law's validity and then Democrat hypocrisy on the law. Because we are not the people who demanded unconstitutional abridgments of our Second Amendment, right? We are not the people who demanded that. That was gun control Democrats that Hunter Biden actively fundraised for. He was step by step with his dad on the campaign trail. He was at fundraisers where gun control was the key feature of his speech. We were called domestic terrorists. We were referred to as child killers, all for supporting the Second Amendment. But he can snort booger sugar, and his girlfriend / sister-in-law can steal his gun, throw it in a trash can across the street from the school. The Secret Service got involved in that, if you don't remember. They got involved in that, retrieved the gun, and tried to downplay it. The FBI did too. They tried to hide it and hush it. That's not justice. So to say that gun control advocates should live under the laws they create is not an endorsement of those laws. It's a recognition of their hypocrisy on the issue. And one of the things that I noted, I think that Hunter Biden's conviction is a fantastic way to showcase the hypocrisy and futile effort of unconstitutional gun control laws to either the unawake or the hyperpartisan and get them changed. But course correction should not start with privileged Hunter Biden. It should start with people like Dexter Taylor and others. So this case, this is just a theater for them. The evidence was overwhelming. Other people have been sent to jail for this before. This whole case was just theater to make it look like justice is being served. So don't be taken in by that, because it's not.